I just want to have fun making guitars. Vicente Arias is one of the makers has impressed me most, who created a whole universe apart from all the others in terms of decoration, in terms of sound also. And for me, this is the model that is closest to my heart. For me, maple stands out in terms of sound for this model. The combination, this Plantilla, this system, it has a 6-fan brace. Together with the maple, it's an incredible, warm, mellow, terciopelo sound. Yeah, I love it very much. The combination is perfect. When you make a guitar in a certain style, like Arias or Garcia, it has to be in their sound universe. And that's a difficult thing to achieve. It's not a German guitar, it's not a French guitar, it started in Spain. So for me, the sound of the Spanish guitar is really the sound of the first epoch of great makers, like 150 years ago to 100 years ago, that epoch of around 1900. Why? Good question, because I feel the sound of these guitars is closer to the human voice than modern, loud, powerful guitars. For me, it's the most difficult phase in guitar making is choosing wood for the top. And of course, the bridge is it's like the ankle of the guitar, no? where everything comes together. And it's not that I don't understand why people try to make guitars using science, but I don't see that these guitars are better. What was the question again? I am Karel Dedain. I am a guitar maker from Belgium, from Ghent in Belgium, small city, beautiful city. Now I'm in Granada with Alberto from MaderaGuitarras. It's been a wonderful time here in Granada, and I was here to bring a guitar. Let me tell you how long I was in the business. I've been making guitars for about 20 years professionally now, mainly focusing on guitars from copies from guitars from the past, and in inspiration guitars from the big makers, the great maestros from the past, like Torres, Garcia, Arias. Vicente Arias is one of the makers for me that has impressed me most. He's a maker who created a whole universe. He's apart from all the others in terms of decoration, in terms of sound also. And that's why he stirred an interest in me. And I have seen a lot of his guitars and copied a lot of his guitars. And I have one of the copies of his guitars here in Granada. And for me, this is the model that is closest to my heart, sound-wise. I love it very much. And a lot of people who see it also think that way. It's just a small jewel for me. I like it so much. It's because it's an intimate guitar. It has a small body. I will show you later, but the guitar is a guitar that is close to the smaller Torres models. It's not a big one. It's not a small one. It's in between. It's a lightweight guitar. It's very responsive. When you play it, you also feel you are playing it. And for me, that's very, very, very essential. That when you play a guitar that I have made, that you also feel it. That you feel the vibration. That you have a connection through the sound you make. That you have a connection, vibrations that you feel in your body, in your hands. Also the left hand, that you feel the neck vibrating with the instrument, so that you don't have a stiff instrument, inert piece of wood that produces sound, but also something that you feel connected to. And for me, these instruments, they do that for me. And I'm sure I will find people who will think the same about this kind of guitars, yeah. It is very closely related in terms of the concept, the system, the bracing, the thickness of the soundboard, the plantilla. So the shape of the guitar is well, you can see it here. The shape of the guitar is exactly as the original. Of course, the original one was in rosewood from Brazil. This one is in maple. I made copies in rosewood, Brazilian rosewood, Indian rosewood, maple, cypress. For me, maple stands out in terms of sound for this model. The combination, this plantilla, this system, it has a 6-fan brace. Together with the maple, it's an incredible, warm, mellow terciopelo sound. Yeah, I love it very much. Whereas the rosewood has a little bit more crisp sound, and I like the velvet more. For me, the combination is perfect. So only the wood is different than in the original, and the decoration is inspired, like the rosette of the original one is a very elaborate ringed rosette. It's his famous guitar with all the rings, like the Olympic rings. I call it the Olympic guitar. I have made a version myself with another system of rings, a little bit less work because the copy is hours, like 100 hours of work or something. This rosette is maybe 50 hours, so a little bit less. But still, anyway, a lot of work. But for me, this rosette is a rosette that Arias could have made himself if he was living today, and he would say, "Oh, I made a new rosette. This could be an invention of his." So I want to be in the style of his work when I do an inspiration. So the decoration is a little bit myself combined with the spirit of Arias, but the system of the guitar is totally Arias. Also the thin fingerboard, the bracing system, everything, the bridge. Yeah. For me, making copies, be it Arias or Garcia or Santos, it doesn't mean anything if you make a guitar that sounds like you, because then you don't have to make copies, you have to make your own model. So you don't have to make a guitar that looks like Arias, but you have to make a guitar that sounds like Arias. Also, of course, it's difficult because the old guitars sound different than the new guitars. You should have heard the guitar when it was conceived. Of course, it's difficult, but when you make a guitar in a certain style, like Arias or Garcia, it has to be in their sound universe, and that's a difficult thing to achieve. For being successful in that, you have to see a lot of original guitars so that you understand a little bit the way of working and the way of thinking of the maker. So I can say for Arias, I have the experience. I have seen a lot. But if you would ask me the same question about Torres, for example, I can make good Torres copy, but it's different. I don't feel as comfortable with Torres copies as I feel with Arias or Garcia. I feel comfortable with them because I feel a little bit how it should sound, how it should feel, mostly how much it should weigh when you pick it up, what it tells you when you pick it up. And I see a lot of copies who miss something. Sometimes it's difficult to explain what exactly they're missing, these copies. I'm not saying I succeed every time, far from that. But in Arias, I feel this could have been made by him, maybe. That's the goal to achieve when you're making copies. Otherwise, you develop your own system. It's also the best way for me of learning about the craft, trying to put yourself into the way of working of another person from years ago who you can't ask questions anymore. You have to dig deep to find out how they made it. If you can ask questions, it's simple. You just ask, the answer, or they don't answer. But with the old people from the past, you don't have answers, so you have to try to dig in deep and find the answers yourself in what you see, and try learning by copying. And for me, it's the way to learn and to develop more and more my own craftsmanship. Yeah. Well, this bird's eye maple, I bought it in Germany, border with Austria, maybe 15 years ago or 10 years ago, and but the tree was coming from Bosnia Herzegovina, where there is a lot of flame maple and also bird's eye maple, and it has this very beautiful quality. It's not too, it has not too much bird's eyes, but still it's very alive, and I love it. And the first time I tried it, I must say it was because of the aesthetics. So I thought, wow, why not try a guitarra de lujo, a luxury guitar with splendid wood? But then it was finished, and I thought, wow, the sound was like incredible compared to other guitars. Also with flame maple, I have the same results because maple is somewhere between really hardwoods and the softer hardwoods, and that's what makes it a little bit. Yeah, it softens the sound a little bit. It rounds the tone more. It's difficult to explain. It's also very delicate, the difference, but still there, it's there. And so when I found out that sound-wise it's so good, I've tried it a lot of times, and every time it's spot on. It's good. So I would love to make it more, but in the guitar world, a guitar made of maple is maybe less archetypical. People like to have the idea that the guitar has a light top and dark back and side. So not a lot of people order maple, but when they do and they play, they're always very satisfied. Of course, flamed maple is different because it's quarter sound. This one is never quarter sound, so you have to know how to treat the bird's eye maple. So I didn't use the same thicknesses as the original one in rosewood. I kept the sides a few tenths of a millimeter thicker, also the back, because it's softer and it's less rigid, it's less stiff. So you have to know how to treat the woods. I'm sure it can sound good with all kinds of wood, but you have to be able to judge the wood and its qualities and then do your thing with it with the concept in mind that you want to build. And that's an exercise that we always have to make when we're using other woods. And then it's an experience that you also have to develop. So the first time was an experiment because it was for aesthetics. But yeah, I love the sound. It works really well in Cypress too, which is a soft wood. Yeah. I like this top very much. It has a little bit of bear claw. I don't know if you see it on camera, but it has a little bit of bear claw, not too much. It's from a tree in Austria. And as I told you before, I don't like tops with very narrow grain because I feel they are a little bit locked, and the guitar also, the sound is a little bit locked inside. I would prefer it if I would have to make a powerful modern instrument. I would maybe go for a top with tighter grain. But for all guitars, copies of Santos, copies of for instance, Arias, Torres also, not too small grain, not too tight grain. A wider grain is fine, but it has to be perfectly quarter sound. And then I feel it can be a philosophical thing, but I feel that the guitar is breathing more. And like if it's the grain is tighter, it's like a little bit like this, you know. And with wider grain, it can breathe more. It's like, and with tighter grains, it's strangled. But maybe it's an idea that I have in my head, and then it's not true. But I feel it's, for me it works. You see even in a lot of old guitars, you see even wood of far lesser quality than we use today, because they had to work with the woods that they had in the time, and it was not so easy always. Now we go wherever we want. We buy the most precious, best sound woods that we can buy, and we have the luxury of choice. And you see in a lot of old guitars that maybe the grain in is tight in the middle, and then it goes wider or less quarter sound here, but still these guitars sound really good. I think it's not always only the top wood that defines the instrument. It's a whole system, but it starts with the wood of the top. For me, it's the most difficult phase in guitar making is choosing wood for the top, like, because it's the engine of your instrument, and you need a good engine. But a Ferrari needs another engine than a Mercedes of 30 years old, you know. So, and choosing that is difficult. What engine am I going to put in this instrument? But most of the times you pick one and it's okay. This guitar, this wood has been lying here for 2 years. Joined it. I never found the right model to use it in. So then you feel at a certain moment you feel for the top. Yeah, your time has come. I will use you for this project. And I cannot say what it is exactly that makes me decide to use a certain top for a certain guitar. But I know it's very, very important, and sometimes you succeed like it sounds like you wouldn't have expected because it's far better. Sometimes it's okay, and you say, okay, yeah, good choice. But sometimes you say, wow, best choice ever. I feel in this guitar it's good choice, very good choice, but depends on who plays it. Playing guitar and choosing a guitar is also a very, very personal thing. It's like for us choosing the wood, for players it's choosing the right guitar that suits their personality. And it's a very complicated choice to make, I think. Well, first of all, the bridge of the original Arias guitar here was replaced. So the new one is a lot bigger, a lot longer. I think because they wanted to camouflage some damage on the top while removing the old bridge. So I couldn't rely on that. I took other bridges of Arias, compared them, and I made this bridge to the measurements I saw in a lot of other guitars by Arias. It's quite normal size for Arias guitars. But your question about how important the bridge is, of course, I see it as one of the most important, but everything in the guitar is very important. But also the bridge, it's not a coincidence that it's called the bridge. It's really, it makes a bridge between what you do as a player and what the guitar gives to the audience. It's like a bridge between vibration and sound. But more important than the bridge, I think, is the glue joint of the bridge. That it fits exactly to the top, and that every vibration that you put in through your fingers is directly transposed to the top. So you need a very good bridge saddle that has a perfect contact of the bone to the wood, so that everything that goes in is directly transmitted to the top. And also in the bridge you have the string angle, and for me the string angle is an important thing, an important feature that you see in and you see it in a lot of modern guitars. You have a bridge angle that is quite steep, so the string comes out of the holes and it makes an angle with the saddle bone. But in all guitars you see it like this. It's like a little bit lower. In Hauser guitars you see it a lot, but also in Torres and in older guitars you see this angle being lower. And my experience is that a lower angle gives also a more soft touch, a more mellow tone. And maybe that's why I love old guitars so much, because they have this real rounded, warm sound. And I think it has to do also with this angle. But of course, this angle can change in time because of old guitars. Maybe when the neck tilts a little bit, you have to lower the saddle. So then you get this lower angle also. But when we conceive a guitar and a copy guitar, we aim for a low angle. I always do. I would never make a double hole bridge in a copy guitar, because of then you have a steeper angle, and maybe it's useful for flamenco guitars, but I think it's very important, the angle that the strings make on the bridge. And of course the bridge is like, it's like the ankle of the guitar, no? Where everything comes together, and so it's an important piece of wood. Yeah. Well, the playability for me is quintessential. It's the most important thing that you have as a maker to seduce your customer. It's like, yeah, it's like the eye of a beautiful woman or something. You see a guitar, you pick it up, and you feel instantly, wow, this is nice to play. And when it's nice to play, it invites you to play, and you want to play it longer because it's so nice. And then you're all, as a maker, you have already won half of the contest, you know, with the guitar or the client, with the guitar player or the client. When the playability is good, you can seduce a lot of people. And good playability means a lot of things. It means you have a soft touch, that you don't have to play too hard. You need to have a very good nut with very good nut slots, and then a low nut adjustment, and then a slight curve in the fingerboard. And for me, a good playable neck is a neck that also vibrates a little bit with the guitar. I don't like the idea of stiffening the neck too much or making too heavy the neck. In all guitars, you see necks with a lot of cedar and very thin fingerboards, like 4, 5, 6 millimeters. 6 is already a lot. In modern guitars, you often see guitars with thick fingerboards and less cedar. For me, a thick fingerboard makes the guitar more rigid and more heavy in feeling. I like guitars with more cedar, so that its neck is lighter and it vibrates a little bit more with the guitar. Of course, you lose a little bit of energy from the top in the neck or in the sides and the back, but I like to have it this way because it's more comfortable. And when, as a guitar player, you get seduced by this feeling, but because you not only feel the body vibrating, but also the neck, you feel something moving in the neck. And for me, this has a lot to do with how good you feel with a certain instrument. A stiff neck with heavy fingerboard, heavy headstock, I don't like it too much, no. But it's personal, because other people, they fancy other stuff, but I would never make it like that. And not too flat the profile of the neck, of the cedar and the back. Like a round, more comfortable profile. I like it very much, yeah. I don't know if the Plantilla is a big element in the sound. I'm not sure, because, for instance, you have played this guitar, other people have played this guitar, and always everybody's surprised how much sound comes from a small Plantilla like this. It's really small compared to other guitars. It's really small, but the sound is big. So the Plantilla, in this case, I don't think it plays such a big role. It plays a role in the concept of the instrument, in the sound character, but not in terms of volume. People would say a bigger guitar makes bigger sound. A deeper guitar makes deeper, bigger sound, but it's not the truth. You have Torres guitars that are flat and like this thin, but they sound like really deep and loud. And also with small Plantillas, it's always a mixture of all the elements. Plantilla itself, I don't think it makes a big difference. It's just how you compose the whole system together, and all these parameters, there's like a million, no, maybe 1,000, not a million, it's too much, 1,000 parameters in one guitar that determine the sound. And the Plantilla is one of them, but it's only one of them. It's not a big, because I use so many, I see that it doesn't make so much difference. I don't think so. Maybe it does in the sound character, in the voice of the guitar. Yeah, maybe. A little bit the same as with Plantilla. I think the bracing is one of the elements, and I think people tend to put too much importance in the bracing. Of course, you have the really stiff, like Friedrich style bracing. It's a completely different world as Torres bracing. But then, if you use a Torres bracing and you make the bars of the fan a little bit higher, like half a millimeter or something, I don't think it plays a very big role, because it's not when you pluck a string that you put the bracings to work. It's just you put the whole system to work. In Arias, you can see it clearly. He used a lot of times 6 braces, but they never, like the fan never points in one direction. I think he just put it there in a fan brace design, but he was less concerned about how it, in what direction they pointed. So I think also he was convinced maybe of this idea that it doesn't matter that much. Of course, you have styles, but when you make a traditional Spanish guitar, be it 6 or 7 braces with closing bars or not, doesn't make a big difference, I think. I tend to make this guitar with 6 braces like the original one. You said indeed, like the original had 6, But you could see there were 3 small braces added in between to after repairs for making a little bit, I think, a little bit more rigid or durable, but it wasn't necessary, I think. But you could clearly see that the 3 braces were added afterwards. They were different wood and they were cleaner, so they were added afterwards. Also, the bracing of the back was replaced, not in a very decent way. So it had a lot of repairs and it had been sanded, the guitar. So the sound of the original one is not as a reference sound. No. Is the guitar player, of course. Of course, is the guitar player. But of course, there's certain elements in the guitar that you don't want as a maker. That's like, for instance, you don't want any dead notes on the fingerboard. But making traditional guitars with thin soundboards, you always have the risk. If you make Hauser guitar with a thick soundboard, you have less risk of having dead notes because you have a lot more mass that can vibrate. If you have a very thin top, let's say 1.5, you risk the fact that you will have maybe a dead note somewhere in the higher registers, or that's a risk you take. But you know that, and people who fancy old guitars, they know it also. But this tends also to compensate a little bit, to flatten out with time. So the dead notes get a little bit better and the other notes get a little bit, so it gets even. So older guitars tend to be more even in dynamic and power and volume than newer guitars. Newer guitars, like some notes they want to shout and other ones they say, oh. What was the question again?
What are the
yeah.
parts or the part that you consider is the more influence for the sound? You told
the guitar player,
but apart of that,
it's the maker. Not seriously, it's the maker, and maker is part of the instrument. He's one of the parts of this thing, the major part, but he's not there anymore. But it's the most important thing. As I said, you see a lot of copies, but the maker is inside that copy, and sometimes you hear just the modern maker inside the copy that looks like an old guitar. So the maker is everything. And I think the soundboard, of course, is you have the proof of the papier mâché guitar and the paper guitar of Torres that the soundboard is where it all happens. But then if the soundboard has this plantilla or this and this style bracing or this, if the maker knows how to handle that system, it's going to be fine. So the maker is important. Yeah, good question. Very good question. I am a maker who doesn't like science. I was bad at science in school, and I'm still bad at science. It's not that I don't understand why people try to make guitars using science, but I don't see that these guitars are better. So I've seen very good guitars by makers who use data and flexibility tests and everything, but also lesser quality. I have seen myself also, I have seen better guitars from traditional makers who just trust their instinct, and good ones and very, very good ones and lesser guitars. If science would be the answer, everybody would use it and everybody would make the same guitar and everybody would make the same magnificent guitar. But that's what makes our profession so nice and so mysterious, that we all make different things using science or instinct. Doesn't matter. You just choose what suits you best. And I tend to use my instinct because also I want to work fast. I'm a fast worker. I don't like to doubt too much. You have to make decisions. If you cannot make decisions, you cannot earn a living. You just have to go work, try. If something goes wrong, you just start over, but you trust your skills. And in the beginning it's difficult because you don't have any skills. You have poco skills. But then you develop your skills and then you can go faster and faster, and it's like a natural process. I'm not reflecting too much on what am I going to do with this. I immediately feel, okay, this will do. It's fine. Yeah, wow. Yeah, great. Now, it's called a Spanish guitar for starting. Yeah. It's called the Spanish guitar. So it's not a German guitar, it's not a French guitar, it started in Spain. So for me, the sound of the Spanish guitar is really the sound of the first epoch of great makers, like 150 years ago to 100 years ago, that epoch of around 1900. Why? Good question, because I feel these guitars, the sound of these guitars is closer to the human voice than modern, loud, powerful guitars. It's like, but it's a very personal also thing. For me, it lies closer, it's closer to my heart, it's closer to, I like things of beauty. Also in art, I like works of art, paintings, everything that have a certain beauty inside. Ugliness can also be beautiful in a certain way, also sound-wise, but in guitars, not for me. No, that's why I like them so much, because they appeal something emotion. Yeah, emotion.
That is what you cannot find in modern construction, no?
It also depends on the player, of course, but I've seen very emotional concerts for me on modern guitars by modern players, and I was like, wow. But when I make something, I want to be 100% connected to the thing I'm making, and that wouldn't be a sort of modern. I'm not old-fashioned. I'm not old-fashioned, and I'm not against modern concepts. But I'm not trying to invent something. For me, the guitar is already invented, and we're just making our own versions of the good invention. Talking about plantillas, we all still use the plantillas that are here since 100 years or more. We use the same plantillas. Everybody you talk with, they use Manuel Ramirez, or they use Hauser, or they use Torres as plantillas. Why? Because the shape is there. It's good, but you cannot make it that big anymore. It's just, it has developed in a very rapid period, very short period. In that time, it has developed to a point that, yeah, just follow this. It's good. That's how I think about it. More than before, I think. A lot of people have. I mean, maybe I think so because I have access, but I think a lot of makers have seen. If you go to festivals, there's always at least one collector or something with a few guitars. But I think for a lot of people, also for myself, a lot of makers, the first guitar, all guitar that you have, that comes into your life, in your workshop or in your hands, determines a lot. You talk to a lot of makers, they will say the same. They have seen a Santos for the first time, and so they get inspired by that instrument. A lot of people they make a guitar copy of that instrument, and then they start developing their own style, but always starting from somewhere. And most of the time, it's an instrument like that. For me, I've seen old guitars before, but the first one was the small Arias. It had been maybe 15 years ago. Yeah, about 15 years ago, before I was doing a lot of different types of guitars. And then I saw that Arias guitar that I had to restore. I restored it, but the sound was incredible. And every person that I see or meet who saw that guitar, and now it's in China, who saw that guitar, they remember it. So it was something really special, and I remember it really. I still recall the sound even. I've seen a lot more of these guitars in the years that came after that, but that one was really special. So this gave me the idea that you don't have to make something very impressive, very big, or very loud, impressive to make a big sound. You can do it with a very small instrument. So that one was very special. I saw one Torres in Paris also that gave me, how do you call it, chills, because of the sound. And also, but it's emotional when you pick up a first Torres guitar. I've seen other Torres guitar that for me was not so emotional, but that one was really wow. You played and you feel like you have history in your hands first of all, but also when the sound is like you want it, it's really incredible. Garcia also one or two that were wow impressive. Simplicio I've seen only one that impressed me a lot. I think it was without tornavos. Yeah, without tornavos. And in the beginning, when I started, my first guitar was that I ever made was a flamenco guitar, inspired by Santos Hernandez. I think from 1918, that I saw that was the first old guitar I had in my hands, and that was where I started from. Years before I saw the first Arias. That Santos guitar is still. I know where it is. I can visit it sometime when I want to see it. Uh, you get inspired. It's not the best Santos. It's not the most beautiful Santos I've ever seen. But for me, it was something. Yeah, it determined what I wanted to do. I made a copy. That was my flamenco guitar for years that I used myself. Now it's broken apart in a lot of pieces because I used it too much. But yeah, I think for every maker, it's these encounters that you have, be it a very famous guitar or not. The most famous guitars not always are the most, well, are the ones that impressed me most. It has something to do with the way I'm feeling at the moment, how emotional I can be with the instrument, how curious I am at the moment. So it depends on a lot of stuff. Yeah. Difficult question because the guitars we know from that time, of course, they have changed over time. The sound is not. We would have. I would love to know how they sounded in the beginning, if it was close to this one, because this sound is the Arias character, but it's of course sounds a little bit more fresh. So we never know how they sounded in the beginning. Were they as fresh and crisp as this one or not? We don't know, and I don't want to speculate about anything about why and how they did it because we were not there. We were the only answers there are buried. No, we cannot ask them, and if we cannot ask them, we cannot answer these questions. And I would love to answer them. I would love to know how he worked. Maybe he didn't even have, I don't know, light in his workshop, or we don't know. And people who say they know, it's difficult because how can they know? I always think, how can you know? You were not there. I was not there. I cannot know. So I will never say I know. But I would love to. Yeah, I would love to. The books, I think they're very valuable. Most of all because of the pictures. Because as you said before, not so many people have the luxury or are in the position to see a lot of the original instruments. But with these books, it's like you see them even better than in real because the pictures are so great and so detailed. If I would have had these books 20 years ago, I would, wow, that would be something different. I think it's very valuable, even in these times with internet and everything is online. The books, they are very, very, very inspirational. And I think that's maybe why I want to work together with him because I know if I would have loved them, the books. I also love them. I get inspiration by them myself. So it's very nice to have them. But that's maybe the reason why I cooperate. And another reason is because of the books that they have this high reputation. It means that most of all, Alberto can travel around the world and gets access to really every famous guitar there is. And so I'm a little bit like a leech attached to him. I can travel with him to collections and see the most famous guitars because I measure them and I document them. Because for me, it's a way to see all these instruments because I'm a little bit addicted to seeing all these guitars, and it opens a lot of doors. And the more books there are made, the more doors there are opening, you know. And I also think it's very important to spread the heritage of these people, because a lot of guitars are in collections, not open to the public, just in private collections. And through these books, you can give a little bit, open them a little bit to the world, and giving them a bigger audience that they deserve. All these magnificent guitars, and also it's interesting to read about the people who made these guitars. Yeah, very inspirational. The only one, well, my condition in working together with Alberto, I say, yeah, okay, I want to work together. And maybe the first book was Arias. I'd say, oh yeah, I maybe want to write something about the lutherie, the guitar making of Arias. But one condition, I will never speculate. I will only describe what I see. And that's valuable already, because you can write about what you've seen in 20 or 30 guitars. You can see patterns in his work. You can see, well, he used mainly this or that, but I will never say why he did it. I will only see he did this, but I will never say, and okay, Alberto agreed, very nice cooperation. And I'm also involved in the books, because I draw the plans that are inside the book as a way of, if anybody wants to make one of the guitars, we decided to put plans inside the books, because Alberto knew that I was drawing plans for the school I'm teaching, and so he contacted me for that. I'm very happy to do that. It's a lot of work, but it's always, when you have to measure every detail, you really get into a certain instrument. Every millimeter you see, you measure, you draw it, then you experience it again, and then you make a copy and you experience it again. And these plans are very detailed for one reason. If you start making a copy from a plan, you better have a plan that is really, really detailed, because for me it's very important that you have, when you make a copy, that you see the instrument. And yeah, it's difficult for most people to see the original, but then you need a very, very detailed plan that is 100% correct. And I put a lot of effort in that, and we recheck, and then after a lot of editing of the plan, finally it's there, and still it has some small errors. It's always the same. But with the last one, for instance, Boucher, I'm very happy. I think that plan the plans get better also. My guitars maybe getting better, but my plans also are getting better. So yeah, it's good. With the plan always goes a page with some explanation, how I measured it, what I think was original in the guitar, what I think was not. But I document the guitar like it is now. So in this one, for instance, there's a page that says, oh, the bridge probably not original, the headstock modified, so that people who read the plan know. In the construction plan, I didn't draw the 3 extra bars because no use. They were added. So there's always a guiding text with the plan to guide you a little bit. But then again, you have to, of course, use it, as you say. You have to use the guide, the plan as a guide. Plantilla is okay, you can rely on it 100%. But like, for instance, the thicknesses of the top, that's something you will have to decide yourself. Okay, you have to stay in the area, but yeah, you have to know how to handle the wood a little bit yourself. If you rely on the plan 100% for thicknesses and everything, you might maybe not get the results you want. But okay, that's up to the makers. I can only supply them with as much information as possible, and I think we do a fairly good job with that. Yeah. Oh no, I think not so many students. No, because once you get inside the school, it's such a nice place that everyone wants to stay as long as possible. So there's not a lot of how do you call it, new I don't know the word in English, but yeah, teaching is fun. It's great fun. Yeah, I love it. I always say to my students, every day for me is a holiday. When I come here to school or when I work in a workshop, it's holiday. It's like we do what we like, what we love, what we're passionate about. And teaching is fun in that sense that you learn a lot by teaching, because they ask a lot of questions. Why do it like that? I say, ooh, I don't know. I will think about it next week. I didn't find the answer myself. You know, I don't know. I don't know. And this I know. But you see, they ask a lot of questions. They make a lot of errors that you have to technically think immediately how to solve them, because I'm against wasting wood. I'm very strict in that. I want to have that they have a lot of respect for the wood they're using. I'm more and more strict in that. They know that. So I try to solve every problem without wasting the wood, without having to restart a certain piece. Of course, when it's really a mess, you have to maybe start again. So it's good fun because you learn a lot of stuff about people also. You learn a lot about people. You learn a lot about teaching, and you can experiment in class. In school, we did this project with a lot of woods from our area, like oak and beech and birch and everything. We made a lot of guitars in local woods. That was a very big project, but we also, as professionals, as teachers, we learned a lot from that project. So you can use the school sometimes a little bit as an experimental lab, where in your workshop you don't have the space nor the time. You're limited to try all these woods yourself. It's costing you 2 or 3 years of work, but with 50 students you can achieve a lot more, and it's very interesting. You can try different woods, different types of styles of guitars, and that's what makes teaching fun also. In the near future, that's why also I came to Granada, is I am working now as a professional independent maker for 20 years next year. So I'm planning to do something special, 20th anniversary, limited edition, something guitar, very expensive instrument. No, just, and that's why I came to Alhambra, Granada again to get some inspiration. It's always inspiring. There's a lot of people visiting. There's a lot of noise, but it makes me so quiet. Every time I'm there, I'm like, this is so incredible. It's so incredible. Every time I'm like, I shut up now and I just look. I made a lot of pictures to get inspiration, and maybe there will come something out of that. I hope so. I'm not sure. So that's the near future. And in the future, I don't know. I just want to have fun making guitars, and I need every once in a while I need something new. I need to see a new guitar that inspires me. I need to try something new, even if it's always in the same region of the old traditional guitars. I need something that refreshes me, that resets me a little bit in certain style or certain period. I just want to keep working like now, because I think I'm beginning to know how to make guitars. I think I begin more or less to have the feeling, you know. But ask me again in 10 years, I will tell you the same. I think I know now. I don't know. But the day, I always tell to all my friends, the day I don't like it anymore, that I don't close the door of my workshop and say, wow, I can start working. That day I quit. But it's never gonna happen. It's never gonna happen. I think, no, it's never gonna happen. Passion is growing still, yes.